Not you, just us.
Look at you. Okay,
Mhm.
cool.
Yeah.
Your turn.
What's up, guys? Hey, we're back live at the Elder Studio in Fairfield, California. We got a special guest. As you know, my name is Glenn Davis, one of the co-hosts here at On Mics and Mindsets. This is where we have elevated conversations. We have special guests that we bring in that'll line up with those elevated conversations and want to highlight the community. Cam couldn't be here today. Shout out to the Macias family. They're actually on the road, traveling, having a family trip. Happy early Father's Day to you, brother. And again, to the family, we love you guys. With that being said, this person to my left, I'm gonna let her introduce herself.
Hey, you guys, it's Karina Cook here, your favorite tax and financial strategist, here to hold it down, co-hosting Mike and Mindset. And we have a very special guest, so I cannot wait, guys, to see who is here. But welcome.
Yeah, just we want to welcome our special guest. So quick short story. I was telling this to Percy a little bit ago. Our special guest was supposed to actually be on the Elder Perspective a couple months ago. I double booked that specific day. He's been flexible, and we've been playing like kind of like calendar tag because both of our lives are busy. But without further ado, I definitely want to have you introduce yourself. But appreciate you taking the time out to connect with us, LaTroy Smith.
Thank you. Thank you. So I am the current 2024-25 president of the Solano Realtists, newly appointed city commissioner, city of Fairfield. I own my own real estate company, Fine Homes, RE Inc., as well as I do work with Wiseman Commercial, and I am also the commercial chair for ARIA, Napa Solano ARIA.
Okay, got you. Have your hands in a lot.
A few things.
Yeah.
No, that's good. To you as well. Happy early Father's Day.
Thank you. Same to you.
I appreciate it. So before we even dive into like some of the topics that we have, you're born and raised Solano County?
No, so born in San Francisco, in Richmond until about 8 or so, and then here, and then to Antioch, and here since I was 12.
Okay, gotcha. So LaTroy and I connected a few months ago. We linked up for some tea and or at a coffee shop and just had a really good, authentic conversation. And in that conversation, like I got a glimpse of kind of the framework of who he was or who he is, right? And I was just like, I definitely look forward to connecting with him more. I've been seeing him in a lot of the rooms that we're in.
Yeah.
Been hearing his name a lot, and I want the people to kind of get a little bit more of an understanding of who you are, like what things inspire you, like what are your passions.
Right.
So let's start there. What are some of the things that your heart is connected to?
I would say that for me, it's been a big growth inside of me to where I've just been wanting to give back, wanting to engage with the community, wanting to be a better person. And so starting in beginning of last year, I just said, I want to be the best person I can be every day that I wake up, just be a little bit better than the day before. And so it's been a big challenge for me that some days I win, some days I lose, but most days I do win. And just trying to be the best person that I can be. See, at the end of the day, I want my mom has passed now, but I want her to be able to say, when it's all said and done, job well done.
I love it.
And I haven't always been on that path, but I am now.
Gotcha.
Wow.
I love it. I appreciate you sharing part of that story. So Karina, you're from Solano County.
Yes.
Yeah. So what are some of the things that your heart is connected to, especially in this season? Because you have a lot of great things happening right now, a lot of momentum. Like I think last couple of weeks we were talking about Faith Over Finance. That amazing event. So what are some of the things that your heart's connected to?
Man, that's a good question because I've been going through so much discovery mode in my season that I'm right now. And so, it's always been serving. Over the years, the serving has been based off of my capacity. So now that I understand a lot more, it's okay, how can I serve? So I started getting into the mode of be a servant first. Like, what are you actually trying to achieve? Like, take yourself out of it, right? And the end goal for whoever this person is, like maybe it's my kids, maybe it's somebody in the community, or it's someone with their finances. The end goal is always to help them to where they are. Now, the help for me is always empowerment.
Right.
So, as you guys might know, I do a lot of talking, okay? And a lot of it comes from empowerment. Like, how can I make someone feel better than they were before and see that there's a light at the end of the tunnel wherever they're going? So, in all those areas, that is where I am currently. And that could be in the community with the things that I do with Sustainable Solano, for the city of Sassoon, for my own business and my team. So, that's kind of where I am right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Cool. LaTroy.
Yes, sir.
I feel like I'm interviewing both of
I
you.
know.
Yes, sir.
So LaTroy, what's something that you have going on right now that you care to talk about, care to share? I'm interested in, and like I said, I've been kind of seeing you in spurts, but interested in kind of knowing a little bit more about LaTroy Smith. Being in this area, like I said, stepping into those rooms. Could you, what are some things that you have going on right now?
So for me, I want to give back. Like I mentioned before, I want to serve. I want to give to the community. It's funny that you say that. I think I mentioned this to you before. So I just told myself back probably in about 2019, before the pandemic, that I wanted to be on some boards, and I didn't even know what that meant. But I just made that statement to myself that I wanted to be on some boards. I didn't know which boards I wanted to be on, or who would even want to have me on a board. So I reached out to my cousin. I knew he owned his own company, and I knew he had a board. I said, "Hey, would you let me be on your board?" To which he agreed. Then the pandemic happened, and that was all shut down. And then, mind you, I still have this passion to just serve in some capacity. And so I went to, I think it was a 23 state convention for the Realtors, NARAB convention. And that was in LA. And I met a brother, Randy Munmun, which I had known, didn't know him at the time, but it was a pre-conference class that we had. And so I met him there, and he's from Oakland, and he was part of part of the Oakland Realtors, but they have a separate section or organization called YRD, stands for Young Realtors Division.
Okay.
And I knew he was a part of it. That's all I knew. So I called him up one day. Happened to be the day before a meeting. I didn't know this, but I called him up and I said, "Hey, I want to be a part of. I want to come to the meeting." And so he says, "Okay, well, cool. We got a meeting tomorrow." I said, "Well, cool. I'll be there." I get there. What I did not know was this was a board meeting, their first board meeting, I believe. And so I walk in, I'm meeting all the people. I didn't know anybody but Randy. And so what happened was, so they're going down the list of who's going to be what, right, and just kind of solidifying that. And they got to me, and I'm thinking already, because I'm a quick learner. I'm like, this is a board meeting. They about to ask me, what do I want to do? And all I could come up with is, well, I've been in real estate for, at the time, 24 years, and I know stuff, so maybe I could teach. So right. Perfect. You're the education chair. Now, mind you, I had just said a few years ago I wanted to be on some boards. I literally walked into this not even knowing what it was going to be or what I was. I walked into what I thought was a regular meeting and walked out a board member. And so I just feel like things have just started to line up. And so for me, I want to serve. And that's what I've been doing, is trying to put myself in positions that I could serve the community. At the same time, do my whole real estate thing with my company and all that. And that's growing with, and have agents and that whole thing. But at the end of the day, I still want to be impactful to my community.
Gotcha.
I love that, first of all. So you're being put into an environment that you're not used to and you're adapting. That's what I see. It's like, okay, I put you in a room and let's see how you handle it. And that's actually really powerful, because as you start to say the rooms or the things that you're doing, I see that how they all actually align. As you start to go down what you were doing, I'm like, oh, wow, that complements that so well. Like you're you're building something that allows you to serve in every area, not just,
Exactly.
you know.
And to be uncomfortable with, I feel like that's where growth happens. I think we had a conversation about this
Yeah.
previously. Just when I put myself in places that I am uncomfortable, it allows me to grow because growth happens when you're uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be in spaces where I feel completely comfortable and everything is just in alignment and everything is going so well. That means I've chosen the easy path, and I just don't want to be where, because that's where, dreams go to die when you just go and just say, I'm comfortable. I don't want any additional stress or burdens. I want to be in uncomfortable spaces because I want to keep growing.
Yeah. Ooh.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I mean, it's something powerful when you have not even just that mindset, but also have folks in your circle with the same mindset. You know what I mean? On that growth, right? Because as humans, like we may be motivated in the season and then that motivation dies down.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So when you have that core group that you can turn to your left, to your right, who are aspiring greatness as well, can keep you in alignment with that and keep you on
I
track.
have been surrounding myself with those types of people that inspire me at all times, and just doing different things and watching them. I was talking to somebody yesterday about that. Just from when I met them and to just, and they were telling me something special that they're getting ready to get into, and just to be to say I even know that person, to say that I've broken bread with that person, and to it inspires me. It inspires me to keep being and growing.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
So being in real estate and in Solano County, like what do you, from your perspective, like what do you see how that industry impacts Solano County, the next 5 to 10 years here? You know what I mean? Because I know that, like I mentioned earlier, you're in a lot of rooms. You have a lot of experience in the real estate industry. And so being in Solano County for this long, having kind of an understanding of the infrastructure, right? Or the potential of what the infrastructure looks like.
Well, I can say that there's a lot of unknown right now. We've had a lot of industry shakeups within the last year or two, just with laws and regulations and what we can and can't do, and then there's the market. There's what's been happening politically and how that affects us all, and rates, and so it's a lot of unknown right now. But I would say that in any real estate market, it's a good market to be in. You just might have to shift what your priorities are within that market.
Gotcha. Can you expand on that right there? Because I think that's important for folks to hear.
Meaning, if it's a buyer's market, that that typically means that there are multiple homes on the market. There's so many that the sellers are having to compete with each other. But in the seller's market, is exact opposite. Now the buyers have to compete with each other. So those are those different markets. That there was the market when we had the recession, and when rates are high, or when rates are low, and what people do, and can I refinance now, or do I need to hold on a little bit longer? Or so there's a various types of markets that we can be in, but there's always room to make a move. I just need to know, especially as a real estate agent, it dictates who I might market to.
Yeah.
Or what I might do. Do I buy now? Do I hold now? Do I sell now?
Right.
Do I refinance now? Am I marketing to the sellers right now? Am I marketing to the buyers right now? And so it just depends.
Yeah, got you. I was having a conversation with my nephew last night in Sacramento, and anyway, I was having a conversation with him, and he had mentioned about the idea of jumping into the real estate industry, and so he's 17. If you were mentoring 17, 18, 19-year-old who has aspirations of jumping into the real estate industry, what are some things that you would share with them? Well, one, would you recommend it? Right.
Absolutely.
And then two, if you would, what are some things that you would share with them?
Well, in the real estate market, let's be clear that the real estate market is not just being an agent, and it's not just being a lender. Because if you are in landscaping, you are in real estate. If you paint, or a contractor, you are in real estate. I had a friend. This is before the housing bust, and I haven't seen him in quite a while. But his job is he went to new home subdivisions, and while they were building and doing stuff, and there's all kind of materials on the ground, he would go in at night. He would just clean up the sites. He was a millionaire doing that. He was in real estate, right? I've got a friend that moves dirt. And what he does, a trucking company, what he does is before someone needs dirt moved, he finds a place for the dirt to be. So he gets paid on both ends to pick the dirt up and drop the dirt off. He doesn't have any trucks. He hires a trucker to come in and pick the dirt up, pays him a small portion. And so let's say the job might be $15,000 total. He pays the trucker $4,000. Well, how much does he make? What's left over?
Yeah.
He's in real estate.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different ways you can be within real estate, but I would say definitely get involved because there's so many ways that one can make money within this real estate industry.
Wow. That is interesting because I think when you think real estate, it's instantly like you either purchase or you buy. I mean, you purchase or you sell, right? I think like when I start to, one thing that taught me industries very well was BNI. Now I'm going to give that for sure because in BNI, we had the method at the time is when you're in an industry, for example, I'm in finance, right? You go and you build a team of other professionals that'll help you get the job done, right? And so there was real estate in the BNI and the mortgage lender, the investor, the cleaning specialist that we had. They all came together as a team in real estate and was like, how can we elevate together in this industry? And so when you say, I'm like, oh yeah, I love that idea.
Yeah.
Love that.
That's good. I mean, I was just in a meeting a couple hours ago and we were talking about the end point of it was about effective leadership, right? And you know, to what both of you guys are saying, one of the things about a leader, an effective leader, is that their role is not to fulfill the roles within that position, right? That's just what leaders do, right? You get placed in leadership positions to do that. The effective leader job is to build and empower the teams, right? To build the right people on the team to hit the end goal, right?
Yeah.
And so that makes sense. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah. Well, so I have a question also. Well, more of a question and a statement. I've seen someone say, well, it doesn't matter if the rates are high, if you have a high interest rate right now in the market. If you're in a position to buy, just buy. Like, how do you feel about that? Because I feel some people sometimes they get confused on, well, the interest rate is this, I need to wait. And maybe they'll miss out on the opportunity if they don't move forward.
I would say I would agree with that. If you buy now, even though their rates are high, I would say get what you can afford. At the end of the day, you're a homeowner. The problem with waiting is so is everyone else. So when the rates drop, what you end up having is you end up being in a buyer's frenzy. And there's no telling if you'll get that home or not. And so now the prices get driven up, right? And if you buy now, the price is what it is. But if you buy now, you are a homeowner, and you are also able to refinance when those other buyers, when rates go down, right? And the prices start going up because everybody's fighting for the house, and the prices goes up, and there's a bidding war, and so the prices, let's say it was 500,000 and the winning bid was 550, right?
Yeah.
So that person that wins, they usually did everything the seller asked them to do, right? You had no negotiating power whatsoever. Because the sellers, let's say, has got 15, 20. I've seen in back when the housing bust happened and prices went down and everybody jumped in the buying pool, I've seen as many as 40 offers for one house, right? So you lose all buying power, right? You just do, because the seller's gonna say, look, I got 20 offers. This is what I want, everything that I want. Who's gonna take it?
Okay.
Right? So you have no buying power. Whereas if you buy now, you may be able to get some negotiating power in there, where you may be able to get some of your closing costs paid for. You may be able to get, the house repainted or new carpet or whatever you may be able to get. And the beautiful thing is you own the home now. And yes, the rate is a little higher, but check this out. When the rates go down and everybody else is fighting to get the house, all you got to do is refinance. So you get the same rate that everybody else got, plus you get the equity when the house starts going up in value.
We need a boom on that. Wow. No, I loved how you explained that. I think that's very important because it definitely is one of the things that I feel I've heard a lot of people wait on. And so the idea of it is now when you're ready. If you're ready, just do it. You could refinance later.
I have a client, a good client of mine that it's a couple and they bought a house eventually in Sacramento. So my mother and I and Lisa, my wife, we were all business partners. Mother passed away. I inherited her clients, and she had a client she'd been working with for about a year or so, and then handed off to me. Well, then they didn't buy until I think 4 years after they were handed off to me. So it's been like a 5-year journey. But they ended up buying in Sacramento, buying what they could afford. But initially, they were looking in the Fairfield area, but prices got a little too expensive. So they went to Sacramento. If they had have bought when my mother was working with them, or when I was working with them initially, they could have at least bought in Fairfield, because they're thinking about coming back now, because everything that they do is here in Fairfield or in the Solano County. But they could have bought the house they wanted for $200,000 less, somewhere in that ballpark.
Whoa!
But they had to go buy and spend more to be somewhere they didn't want to be because they waited.
Interesting.
Wow. No, that's a good.
Yeah,
that's a good
I like how you kind of put the spin on some of the conversations of it being kind of education based, right? Like when you talk about, real estate isn't just about, buying a house, right?
No.
And I think that that's one of the things that, especially I know you have a passion for the youth as well, and I think that's one of the key elements to educating our youth on, when you think about real estate, this is the scope of what it means, and it's not just about buying a home, right? And so speaking of that, do you have any upcoming events or projects geared towards the youth, young adults, or even the masses when it comes to getting them to understand a little bit more about the real estate industry, financial literacy, right? And one of the reasons I asked that question, shout out to DKW_mentor on IG. He says real estate has an absolute ability to create multiple streams of financial legacy. And then to counter that, or to also add to that, Simone Lane, shout out to Simone Lane as well. She says, get the asset. And so kind of to circle back to the question, are you currently organizing or having anything scheduled or working on something behind the scenes?
And one of the things that I forgot to mention is I am also on the Oakland YRD board.
Okay.
Young Realtors Division, and we do have a program coming up, and I forget the dates offhand. It's on my phone, which is behind me, but they have a program, so please look up Oakland YRD or the Oakland Realtors ARPB, Associated Property Brokers. They have a program coming up called Rise, and it's for the youth ages 14 to 24. It's a 6-week course, and we're going to be running down financial literacy. So we'll be teaching that to the kids, and also various aspects of real estate. So please look that up. Like I say, it's behind me. I don't want to, reach
no worries.
but please look that up, because that's the main thing we have coming up. And then looking to bring that same program here to Solano County somewhere in about September.
Okay, cool. I look forward to seeing it, get birthed, or not birthed, but expanded out here in Solano County. So
absolutely.
Yeah, good. You got anything? Because I have a question I'm gonna transition to, but I'm gonna wait.
No, I don't have any. I think you summed it up pretty well. The last point I will make is I love the 14 through 24. That is such an important age gap right there, where, thinking about when you were younger, where you were mentally. I know I wasn't thinking about real estate. So that is like, you guys, if this is something you guys have any kids, young adults this age, please take advantage of it, because this is going to give you a head start.
Registration is still open for the Oakland Rise program. So please, if you can join, sign your kids up, please do that. It will be very, very impactful.
Where can they go to find that?
They could go to the to YRD, Oakland, and look that up. And they have an Instagram page. They should be working on their Facebook page, and also ARPB, which is Associated Property Brokers for for the Oakland Realtists,
Okay.
and they can look that information up or reach out to any one of you, and I'll give you the information.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely let us know. Khalil Macklin on Facebook Live says, my man LaTroy Smith is extremely knowledgeable. Tapping with him with your real estate questions. Speaking of real estate questions, if anyone live or rewatching this has any real estate questions, feel free to throw them in the chat, and we'll put them on the table and discuss them.
Please.
And then if you have any value that you feel like you could bring, feel free to drop that knowledge, because that's what Mike's and Mindsets is about, right? So I have a question, and it's kind of three-parted, but I will keep them separate and to transition. One of the things that I started doing a couple years ago, it started with my oldest son and then kind of trickled down. I think we had a brief conversation with Cam. I think Cam had brought up like how sometimes I write quotes on the mirrors for my boys, right? And so the quote I wrote down this morning for the boys. So I have a 21-year-old who plays college ball and track. I have a 12-year-old Darren, 7-year-old, or no, I'm sorry, he's now 8-year-old Isaiah, and then I have a baby girl who turned 3. And so on their mirror this morning, I wrote down, your ability to shift with courage will take you farther than staying the course with pride. And I'll read that again. Your ability to shift with courage will take you farther than staying the course with pride. And so that ties into my topic that I want to talk about, but I wanted to get you guys' thoughts on that. And the topic itself is the power of the pivot. And so when to let go and when to double down. And the reason why the quote popped in my head, and then as well as like this topic, is because when I look at the season that I am in life, right, there are some things that I was at max capacity and I had to say no to some things, right? Some things that I thought that I was called to do, some things that I had to really recognize and say and pray on it, right? But so the power of the pivot, and then when to let go and when to double down. So I wanted to get you guys' thoughts on even asking you guys a question. Was there or is there something currently in your life that you are about to say no to so that you can pivot, or that you're struggling with to say no to or pivot? And so I wanted to put that on the table. And part of the reason being is because I believe that conversations like this, it's important to have, right? Especially with your teams, with your families, and I like to get people to think too. So that's
that was a good
piece
one.
of it.
Yeah.
And
You want to take that
to the
first?
folks on the live, if you guys have thoughts, inputs, or a piece or answer to that question as well, throw it in the chat and we'll talk about it.
Yeah, I do. That was a good one. Really good. I think so. This is the part where I feel that I start to come into realization of my own about just recently, are letting go and doubling down. And it was both, right? Because for me, letting go of a lot of old ways that I felt held me back from actually doing anything, right? That could be mindset. It can be what I tell myself. It could be insecurities. And it's like, okay, letting go of those things because it held me back from thinking I can't do something, or letting go of the fact that in this season, I actually can't do this. Like, I'm going to listen to my Holy Spirit is what I call it, right? What we know it as is I'm going to listen to what the Holy Spirit tells me now. I'm not going to walk in my own understanding. I'm going to walk in what God has for me. And so as I start to uncover those things, a lot that start to happen was shedding of, okay, Karina, for example, when we talk about tax and finance and bookkeeping, right? There's always been stuff that I say, okay, well, maybe this is not the season for me to do this. What God has shown me right now is like, I want you to focus here. Yeah, you have all this knowledge, all this understanding. You can do these things. But here's where I feel that you're going to be way more effective, right? For the people that I need you to serve. So I had to come to that understanding and say, okay, what do you want me to do then? What am I letting go of?
Mhm.
As I let go of these things, they're still going to be there, but I'm not going to put all my focus there because I need to build this up. But as I'm letting go, I am doubling down. And I say I'm doubling down is because now that I'm letting go of this, I double down on what I'm doing currently. As I start to do that, and I laughed at Glenn, y'all, because I said, Glenn, I have some stuff to tell you because these moments start to happen where I was like, I'm going to let it go. I'm going to do this. I'm focused on what I'm focused on. I'm going to let you open those doors. As that start to happen, you guys. So we talk about levels of faith over finance. All these things happen even more as I start to say, okay, God, what you want from me? What am I doing? Okay, double down here, here, here. And now I have a plan for you to do this, this, this. So right now in my season, I'm seeing that, okay, now that I'm being obedient and faithful, these are the things that you having me doing is climbing up, right? It's climbing up, but it's right now enjoying the process that I'm going through in order to climb up to where he has me going. So
I appreciate that.
yeah.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. Any thoughts on that for you?
Yeah, I 100% believe in the ability to pivot. I think it's a great skill set to have. It is a skill set. I think some people just hold on entirely too long and to things or things within their life and for whatever reason can't let go. So I have been living in that space of the ability to pivot. And so for me, me being here right now is me pivoting. And I say that because I don't like to public speak. 3, 4, great. More than that, I get extremely nervous. My hands are sweaty now because I don't like to publicly speak. Yet I'm serving a purpose. The purpose is more important than the fear.
Oof.
My biggest fear, I told you both, and my biggest fear in life has always been to publicly speak. And so I have, for the majority of my life, steered away from anything that would require me to speak publicly. I have left meetings because, let's say it's a round robin. Everybody's gonna introduce yourself. I have left.
I'm out.
It's my turn.
Like 5 people before it's turn to get to me.
Right.
And I have left and stayed gone long enough to not know they were well past me, too long to come back.
Right.
I've done that.
Gotcha.
Because I didn't want to even say my name in the room that I was in. And so for me to even be here right now, to be the president of the Realtist and do the things that I'm doing, I knew that I needed to have a shift and pivot. And it is still very uncomfortable for me to speak in spaces, yet I do it because the purpose is more important than the fear.
Ooh.
Absolutely. I absolutely agree. And like you even earlier, you talked about that growth, right? Like the being uncomfortable so that you can grow. And that's where the growth happens at. And I think more importantly, the intentionality behind wanting to take that step or wanting to take that leap to be uncomfortable and being able to scale. So yeah. Okay. DKW_mentor says purpose. I think one of you guys are speaking. He said purpose is not what we've been able to achieve on our own. True purpose is ending up wherever God allows us to be. That's powerful. I will say for me, I'm very spiritual, right? And so I am very in alignment with what his name's Damien. I am very in alignment with what Damien just mentioned about the purpose piece of it. And I think oftentimes we struggle, kind of going back to the point, we struggle with pivoting. And while not understanding that there's a difference between pivoting and quitting.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I think, and I have even struggled with this with certain seasons of my life, as far as, struggling with the idea to move on because I was thinking about the quitting, right? And I'm a very naturally competitive individual just with myself. And so once I realized that the quitting and pivoting are very different, right? Like it's okay to make that pivot, right? Especially when things are in alignment with your purpose of what you feel that you were called to do.
Yep.
And a couple months ago, I struggled with a decision, and I was sharing this with a couple. I was sharing this with my wife specifically. We were outside, and I have this Bible app on my phone, and generally around 7:45, 8 o'clock, every single night, or at least Monday through Friday, it pops up with like a scripture of the day. And I never click on it. And so I had been praying on something for some time on like, in this season, do I take a step back? Do I go harder? With this specific thing? and I was struggling with it. Like I couldn't sleep at night, because it is value in it, but like I was struggling with it, right? So the long story of that is, uh, me and my wife were outside the house, and we were kind of talking. I took a couple steps to the left, and my phone like vibrated, and so I just before I looked at it, I hit the button, not realizing what it was, and it was this scripture. I meant to find it before we started this because I wanted to talk about this regarding like the thing that I was struggling with, but there was a scripture that gave me so much clarity and this particular season and what I needed. And from that moment on, and this was just like not even a month and a half ago, like I've gotten so much clarity, to be able to unlock the other creative side of my brain. So now I can think clearly to provide more value, right? Because something that you guys both said as far as being in the community, you guys have a heart to serve. You guys are servant leaders, right? And so we're not serving folks like, what are we doing? And so anyway, the point I'm making with all of that is that I was reminded on that what you're doing or what I'm calling you to do is not for you to quit on something. I'm just asking you to pivot. Will you listen? And I kid you not, since I've taken a couple steps forward, it's been it's sped up some of the momentum, even within our business and our partnerships, right? And so that was one of the driving factors behind me asking that question. So anyway,
that was good.
Appreciate it.
That was
Appreciate
good.
it.
Good stuff.
Yeah, but I think people need to hear that, or not even just hear it, be reminded that if you're asked or if you're asking yourself, do you need to stop? Maybe you replace that, or do you need to quit? Maybe to replace that word with pivot. In this season of my life,
Sometimes it's just a shift.
Yeah.
Sometimes you never know where it just may need to be a shift that happens, but not a complete quit or turnaround or retraction of. So April 12th, this past April 12th. And so there's 112 chapters of the Real Test, so we call NAREB. We all do a day where we go to a church and, we provide services and we do something. And so the week before, so I think that was April 6th, we were supposed to be at a different church. And we're supposed to, actually, back up, we're supposed to be at one church. So we announced on the week before that we're going to be at your church the following week. And here's all the things that we're going to be doing. So we call it Real Test Week.
Yeah.
And so the entire week we do something with the community, right? And so we were going to go on that Sunday to their church, and we were going to tell them about everything we're going to be doing that following week, including being at your church that following Sunday. I got a call on the 5th. The night before, the Saturday before, at 5 p.m., y'all can't come because we feel like you're going to be soliciting, although that we have nothing to sell. We're going to be providing nothing but information. But I got a call, 5 p.m., you can't come. And I was ready to, you know what? Forget it. Forget tomorrow, forget next week, because we got nowhere to be. And it's too short of a notice. But I said, you know what? 45 minutes of thinking about it. I said, you know what? It's going to work. So got on the horn, called some people. Next thing you know, by 9 p.m. that night, I had a new church to be at. The following morning, told their members what we were going to do, and then held the whole service thing that following Sunday at their church. But it was the ability to pivot instead of giving up. Because what's the chance that I'm gonna find another church tomorrow? To have to speak and to have everybody come, and there were members that were coming that were going to support the following day, and so it ended up working out. But it was because I didn't give up. I chose to pivot. It's going to work. We're going to make it happen. I don't know how, but let's go.
Yep.
And it worked.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shout out to Simone on that note. Shout out to Simone Lane with being consistent with communicating. She said yes, clarity. A couple minutes ago, DKW_mentor on IG just mentioned that transparency is key, right? And so to that point, I just want to say thank you, because it says a lot about an individual and their character when they can come on, especially when they don't even like public speaking, right? But they can come on a platform and say, I struggle with these things, or I'm struggling with these things, right? But I'm willing to not give up. Absolutely. And I think that that's important.
Yeah.
So cool. Okay.
No, I
Again,
like
working on being a better me,
Yeah,
because the old me would have just shut down, especially
sure.
like the April thing. I didn't want to do it anyway,
Yeah.
and I said I didn't want to do it because I had to speak,
Mhm.
and I didn't want to speak,
Right.
but I had to speak
Yes.
because I stepped into this for a reason. So I said to myself, I'm going to show up, and I'm not going to give up. I'm going to make sure this happens, even when I was told no at the 11th hour, literally.
Mhm.
I said, you know what? I'm gonna do it. We're gonna speak. I ended up speaking. Ended up doing everything that I said I was gonna do, because I didn't want to let myself down, but more importantly, I don't want to let the group down.
right.
Nationally, we're doing this,
Yeah.
and so I didn't want to let the organization down. So it's a whole lot of people, including myself, that I just didn't want to let down, and I chose to just keep going.
Yeah. That's good. Well, so one of the things that I normally post on, like I pretty for the most part I'm pretty private, right? But there are things that I'll post on social media, that may seem like I won't even say like boasting and bragging, but I'll put certain ideas out there, right? And I do it as an accountability measure for
Mm.
myself because I know I have there are people who depend on me, right? There are people who look at me, and then throughout my military career, I've established a certain credibility, right?
Mhm.
And like to leverage all of that, or not even just leverage, but to have all that, I post certain things out there because I know that there's still a human aspect of me that
Yeah.
I might be motivated or inspired in a moment, but that motivation will die down,
Mm.
right? But I know
Right.
if I say that I'm going to do something, or if I put it out there, what I mean, like that will drive
Yeah.
me, or one of the things that will drive me to make sure that it gets done and execute, and or find the right people to help get it done.
I do that same thing. I say things
Mhm.
to put it out in the atmosphere and put it into the space, and now I
Mhm.
can't retract from it.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
So I do the same thing.
Accountability.
Yes. Okay.
Accountability. Yeah.
So I appreciate there was a couple so I know we kind of dove two pieces into it. Uh Really the last thing is, and I think we already covered all of it. But the question or something that I want to kind of leave on the table is this here. Pivoting with intention, not panic. Keep the vision, change the vehicle.
Mm.
Absolutely. I love
Pivoting with intention, not panic.
I got to use that.
Keep
Thank
the
you.
vision,
Appreciate that. I'm gonna use
change
that.
the vehicle.
Yes.
And that was kind of like in closing from like when I had the initial thought of that initial quote that I wrote on for the boys
Mm-hmm.
to transition to the talking point to close out the talking point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll leave that on the table.
Yeah.
So folks in the chat, chime in, tap in. Simone Lane said, choose to pivot. And then she said, Mike's and mindset, you guys are bringing fire. We appreciate you, Simone Lane.
Shout out Simone.
Yeah, we
My
appreciate you.
girl.
She was on, I think, the very first one.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I had the opportunity of seeing her be a panelist and speak at Faith Over Finance at the event.
Okay.
And so she was dropping some gems. She was giving practice. One of the things I love about people in the financial industry is the education aspect and providing the practical principles, because so many folks will be like, hey, you should do this, right? And there's a large gap in that
Yeah.
information. Like, yeah, I seen that 30-second TikTok video. That sounds
Right.
good. How do I do it? Like, how do I
Mhm.
apply it?
Right.
And it's like, yeah, there's a number of things. So anyway, shout out to you, Simone Lane. I am becoming more and more a fan of you every interaction that I have with you.
Yes. Shout out to Simone. She definitely dropped some gems.
Yeah.
The first time I heard her, I said, ooh, Simone, we got to tell people. Everybody needs to know about this.
Well, I don't know her, but what y'all talking about, I need to have people like that in my space.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
For sure.
Yeah.
We'll create something else and we'll make it happen.
Oh, yeah. It's coming down the pipeline.
There you go.
But to answer your question about it was the vehicle, right? Can you repeat that again? Because
yes. Actually, Simone Lane also, she dropped in the chat, I need that final quote again. So I'm gonna copy and paste
There
it.
you go.
It is pivoting with intention, not panic. Keep the vision, change the vehicle.
Keep the vision, change the vehicle. Ooh.
That's my quote for the
Yeah.
for the month. I'm a big quote person. Like I love quotes.
Yeah.
I do the same thing. In my home office, there's a wall to my right, and I write quotes for myself.
Yeah.
That I just keep looking at them because they're just relevant.
Yeah, it definitely helped. I was laughing one day because there was a whole bunch of sticky notes that I put around the house. A lot of it was like scriptures and things to get me through whatever seasons. And my daughter, it's everywhere. She was like, wait, is this a scavenger hunt game? What are we doing? And they start making a game and taking them down. I was like, no, put them up. Because we need to see this. This is something that we have to train our mind and start thinking about. So I'm all for that. All for that.
Absolutely.
So speaking of Glenn's topic, one of the topics that I really wanted to cover is, this stemmed from a lot. Actually, I had an encounter this week with someone, and this conversation was built around wealth strategies, right? And they're high level wealth strategies. And as we start to talk about, okay, well, who's a good fit for these kind of things? Because people will jump into something and really not, you hear social media, like we talk about, you hear people say, oh, you could just do this, you can just do that. But then as you start to get in it, there's some unraveling that happens when you realize, oh, this was not for me, or this was too complicated, or, and I think it starts to put you way back than where you even were. So this is what kind of stemmed the question or the topic that I wanted to bring up today, which is your strategy should match your stage. And really, in this, I'm talking about people skipping steps and chasing success that they're not ready for yet. And, I wanted to bring this up because I know I've been in that situation personally myself. I've met people around me who has expressed these things. How do you guys feel about that? And what's your take on that? And what have you seen?
Can you say that again? Your strategy is what matters?
Your strategy should match your stage. And this is for the people that go through skipping steps and chasing success that they're not ready for yet.
Gotcha. You want to go?
I agree with that. I agree. I think that sometimes people will see others and how they may have had an approach to something, but that's because they may have had a lot of time to go through those other steps, right? And realize, oh, I don't need step 2 anymore. I don't need step 2 and 3 anymore. Whereas you being new to whatever that may be, you may be saying to yourself, well, I'm just going to follow what they did.
Right.
No. They know all the steps.
Yeah.
Right. I think it's important to know all the steps, and then you can figure out which steps you may need to be able to skip. Right. But I think it's very important that you know all the steps, because because what if something goes wrong?
Yeah.
How do you fix it? Because that fix might be in step 2 and 3.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
But you don't know 2 and 3 because you didn't do that.
Yep.
Yeah. So I have a slightly different approach, and I think this is one of the pieces of me that's an executor. Like, I think that, for example, let's say there's a idea, a project or whatever that requires 10 steps. For me, I only need to know the first couple steps and then step 10, because I know that it will take the building of a team in between step 3 and 9.
Yes.
Right. Because while I may be skilled in all of accomplishing all the steps, I think it's equally as important to do that. But now I also recognize that you have folks, when we talk about personality traits and Myers-Briggs and the Myers-Briggs personality test, you have folks in different areas, right? In different quadrants. And so you need folks who come with, no, I need more clarity I need more clarity in knowing all the steps to make sure that we are staying on task and different things like that. And so anyway, I just wanted to highlight, like, my approach is a little bit differently, in the sense of when I move, I know I'm going to move with excellence. And so I know if I can get a firm foundation on step 1 and 2, we will accomplish step 10. Now the journey going there may be a little bit differently, right? Because I can trust the people in my circle, because I have a very powerful circle, right? And so so that's one thing I wanted to just kind of add to what you were saying, just to kind of give a different perspective.
No, understood. But sometimes sometimes you've got to pick which strategy to use. Sometimes it's great to know just steps 1 and 2, and I know I'll figure out the rest to get to where I got to go to step 10. Sometimes that's where wise comes in.
Yes,
being wise
100%.
To understand. And I think I need to know all the steps on this one.
100%. Yeah, definitely agree. Well, so you said your strategy should match your stage. So I feel that I 100% agree with that. I think most people's strategy doesn't match their stages because they have not sat down enough with themselves enough to recognize what is their purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's easy to hear about the shiny new thing. It's easy to be motivated by, yo, that sounds good. I see the results of this person that got this mansion or whatever the case is. And some of their aspirations are to get those material things, but none of that ties into their purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Right? There's a lot of people who jump into the financial industry because you can make a lot of money.
Yeah.
Right? But when your purpose isn't tied to providing the value, right, your journey may be short-lived.
Yeah.
Right? Which is same thing to real estate, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which still ties in the financial industry. But I would say that's been my that's been what I've seen.
Mhm.
And the stage, or I'm sorry, the strategy not matching the stage. Because when you have the strategy and you're strategizing, you're finding the right equipment, right?
Mm.
So if you have the equipment that's not meant to build the stage, you just have equipment.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? And I
Mhm.
think that if we take the time and be intentional about, okay, this tool does this person with this tool does this, here are the resources.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think that that's where it's easier to not get off course on what your stage looks like.
Mm.
So
I think it's
Yeah.
also important that people understand what their personal skill sets are,
mhm,
right?
mhm,
And then you build a team around that,
right.
right? Because if I'm good at something,
mhm,
I'm going to do that thing, but I am also aware of what I am not good at.
Right.
Yeah.
I need someone to do that for me,
Right.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I know I'm terrible, and that's putting it politely, at paperwork.
Gotcha.
Me and paperwork don't get along.
Right.
So,
Mr. CEO.
but I'm good with ideas. I'm good with
Mhm.
strategy. I'm good with those things.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
I try and steer clear as much as possible with paperwork, because
Mhm.
what might take you 2 minutes to do, it might take me a half an hour, because I'm
Sure.
gonna pick it up and I'm gonna go over here. I'm gonna lose it.
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna spend 15 minutes finding it.
Right.
Yeah.
That's me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Simone Lane, consistent. I love
What'd she say?
consistency. I think it was when you were talking. She said, "Sheesh." Oh no, we have some. She said, "Sheesh." That is mind and life changing. And then she said, "Great point, Karina." And then just now she said that often happens when we seek success, money or fame, and not significance,
Mhm.
serving and empowering
Ooh.
others. That's a gem right there.
Ooh.
I'm gonna read that again for the audience on IG. Simone Lane on Facebook Live said that often happens, as we're talking about stage and strategy, that often happens when we seek success, right? Whether it's
Mhm.
money or fame, and not significance,
Mhm.
serving and empowering others. I will say, if you are listening or rewatching this, write that down and
Yeah.
think about how that applies to you in your life, right? Shout out to blind ambition _ join on IG. I actually stepped into the financial industry because of him.
Oh, shout
So
out.
we were deployed to Kuwait together, lifelong friends. But anyway, I jumped into the financial industry 2017. And then DKW _ mentor said, if everyone on the team executes what they do best, success
Exactly.
is the only outcome.
Ooh.
We got our
Exactly.
folks
Dang,
gems
we need the
today.
bells.
Exactly.
dropping gems today. I appreciate that, Damien. We had him on the podcast. He was our very first, if I'm not mistaken, he was our very first guest on the Elder Perspective that flew in
Mm.
to be a guest.
Wow.
So anyway, shout out to you, DK.
Yeah. Yeah.
Appreciate you, Simone. Again, I'm built. My foundation is firm.
Yep. Yeah.
With you. So
Yeah. I love those takes because I feel like this conversation can go many different ways.
mhm,
Absolutely.
The way I see it is like so because it can go different ways, the first thing I look at is don't put the cart before the horse, right? So when I'm all for a foundation, right? And I think this is what took me back with finance in general. So when we start to talk about finance topics, right? Is I see people come in and they want the shiny object, the thing, the success, the wealth, all these crazy strategies, right? And it's like, well, where are you right now?
mhm,
Where are you? Right? Because we could
Right.
get there. Like what
Right.
we're all saying is, yeah, when you need the team, when you have a team, when you have execution is very important. So don't stay at this stage or don't stay at the stage you are.
mhm,
But also don't go to Z when you need to be at C.
right.
Right. So when I say the stage is, for example, okay, well, if we're here what's the first, like you said, what's the first 3 things you need to do in this stage?
Right.
And not rush the process to get here. Because if we get you here, for example, let's get you a mortgage or an investment property,
Mhm.
but you put yourself in a position now you can't afford it,
Right.
or now you have all these other expenses that now is too much.
Mhm.
When really you could have done these things first, built the foundation to get to this step,
sure.
and then continue to build and get your team into it as you're understanding that. But what I'm realizing is that the power does happen when you're sitting in your stage
Mhm.
ready to grow,
Mhm.
but your strategy is here where you are so that you can't elevate. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So
Right.
um that's why I love how you guys are saying it, because we're coming from different perspectives, which is
Mhm.
great. And it reaches all different areas of where the stage can be.
For sure.
So yeah.
For sure. No, absolutely. Cam said, here's where everyone is. Anyway, Cam in.
Hey
What's
Cam,
up,
Cam in the
Cam?
What's up, Cam?
building.
Hey, drive safe,
Bing
man.
bing.
Yeah, so that is this was good. I appreciate that topic.
That's a good question.
It was a really good
Thank
question.
you.
And I think that again, another one of those questions that people should sit with and think about, right?
Yeah.
And how does it apply to us? So we have 4 minutes left.
Okay.
Is there anything that you want to highlight, wrap up, or even questions that you have or last minute thoughts?
Uh, the one thing I guess I want to highlight at this moment is that again, the Rise program with Oakland YRD. It's funny that I'm passionate about working with the youth at this point because I didn't even realize it or know until uh, one of the big first opportunities I had to speak was when we went to a couple years ago now. We went to I think it was Oakland Tech, and we spoke to the classes and the various classes first all the way through seventh period. And as they came in, and we were just answering questions and giving information, talking about financial literacy.
Mhm.
And I just remember walking away with a really good feeling that we had spoken to I think it's about 200 kids that we had an
Wow.
opportunity to speak to throughout the day. I just walked away with a great feeling about having planted a seed,
Mm.
Mm.
right? I'm pretty sure most of them have forgotten all about that, but there's probably one or two is like, you know what?
Yep.
I think I want to do real estate.
Mm.
Hopefully, right? And so just the opportunity to speak with them and put them potential on a different path.
Oof.
And so
Mm.
I really, it just resonates with me.
Yeah.
That's powerful. Appreciate that, man. Then we'll make sure, yeah, if you could get us over that info, we'll make sure we
Absolutely.
pass that along and drop the links in the chat.
Absolutely.
And then also, when you get a moment, dive into the chat so folks can
Sure.
connect with you as well.
Sure.
One thing that I want to highlight before we go, this is like the commercial segment, the sponsorship segment. So in Solano County, specifically Fairfield, California, June 28th, the Vineyard Jam Sassoon Valley Country Music Festival is happening, right? And so there's the feedback I've been hearing, and I looked up some of the artists too. The feedback I've been hearing is that folks are excited about this country music festival. But I want to highlight a couple of things because it's not just some folks will look at the flyer or look at the advertisement and be like, oh, I don't listen to country music. But this is deeper than that,
Mhm.
right? And actually, I want to first of all, you can go to vineyardjam.com to find this information. So I won't read all of it, but it's VINEYARDJAM.com. But it comes with a cause, right? So it's entertainment for a cause. It says supporting after school programs for disadvantaged youth. We were talking about youth earlier, and college scholarships. Vineyard Jam Sassoon Valley is operated by West Wind Music, SPC. It is a social purpose corporation established to raise money for a pathway to college programs for disadvantaged youth in Solano County. Funds from the festival will be used to support after-school tutoring, mentoring, gang diversion programs, as well as foster youth programs. When these students arrive at Solano Community College, they will be supported with scholarships. Check out more information on that website, as I mentioned. But I wanted to highlight that because this is bigger than just a music festival,
Mhm.
right? It's going to be an amazing large scale music festival. But to if you're not into country music, I will say, but you're into purpose, I would invite you guys out on June 28th. The doors open at 12 p.m. Goes all the way up to like 9 p.m. I believe. But it's an amazing lineup, and so we hope to see you there.
Okay.
I know there's a lot going on June 28th, but yeah, there's a lot going on June 28th. But again, that event is from 1 p.m. To 9 p.m. Doors open up. So we hope to see you guys there. Vineyard Jam, Sassoon Valley Country Music Festival, Fairfield, California. If you're anywhere in the Bay Area, anywhere in Northern California, slide through.
And I just want to say thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We definitely got to have you back.
Yes.
Cool. Any final thoughts?
Thank you for coming, LaTroy. Like, we have
Welcome.
amazing conversations outside of here. So I was excited to know that you're coming, because what you teach and what you do is very important,
Thank you.
especially for our community. So
Thank you.
I want to thank you for all that you're doing. And then for the Vineyard Jams, you guys, yes, everything that Glenn said, but also the last thing I want to highlight is that the artists are up and coming artists. They are there are really great artists that we just probably don't hear about. But one of the artists on there dances, or she does stuff with Beyonce. So you Beyonce fans out there, she's young. And she is a really great artist, up and coming. We got a chance to listen to some of her music before. So y'all who want to put y'all hats on and y'all boots on, come on, come out.
Might even be lying.
Who is this artist?
Now, don't ask me her name.
Okay.
Because I don't know it by heart. But she is a Black artist, African American.
Tierra Kennedy.
Tierra Kennedy, and she does some projects with Beyonce on her albums and stuff. So it would be really great to see that while we got a chance. So
absolutely. As we wrap up, Simone Lane said, "Great job, LaTroy. Thank you for walking in purpose and coming out front. Your voice and vulnerability has been encouraging." I want to thank everyone on Facebook Live as well as IG Live.
Yep.
DKW_mentor said, "Excellent segment, everyone. Let's keep building and empowering." Peace. With that all said, Percy, behind the scenes, we want to give you a special shout out as well.
Woo, woo, woo.
Oftentimes the people behind the lens don't get the credit which is due, but we wouldn't be able to execute this stuff without having a dope team. And LaTroy, thank you for blessing us with your presence.
Thank you.
On Mics and Mindsets. Next week, stay tuned. Stay connected with us at the L3 Media, at media.l3 on IG, Forward Learning Group, FLG, Faith Over Finance. Just connect with us, right? And we want to stay connected with you as well. So drop your contacts in the chat as well as far as your social media handles, as we continue to build and highlight and help Solano County have its own identity. We love you guys.